Hayley, relationships are some of just the sweetest and most precious things, but they can oftentimes be very difficult. How do you feel about that? How have you experienced that? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I very much feel like that. I mean, I grew up in a house where my parents divorced when I was younger. They didn't have a lot of close friends. So my biggest thing when I was a kid was like, I want to have lots of friends so my kids have adults around them. I don't know why, but for some reason I felt like when I graduated from high school, like there was nobody being like, yay! And so for me, I felt like, oh, I really want my kids to have people around me. Fast forward, now I have 4 boys, the oldest is 9, and I'm like, man, relationships are exhausting. No, I mean, it's hard to have this like beautiful collection of eclectic, wise friends that could all be part of this like giant conversation in life. Like that's a lot of work, and it's really hard, and there's conflict, and it's messy, and it's beautiful. But it's like a constant pressing in of doing it. And so I think it's kind of like anything with the Lord. Like he likes that tension because it pushes us closer to him. It's not an easy formulaic thing that we can just check off our list and say like, okay, great, done. I did that. And I think sometimes he gives us like measured grace in certain areas of our life that it is easy and it is comfortable and it's just like things are clicking on all cylinders. And for me, that's my marriage. Like for some reason, I don't know why, but that's always been something that's fairly easy. But friendships have been hard for me because I am kind of a homebody. I like being around my people and puttering around my house, and I have to say like, okay, time to go be intentional with so-and-so. And it's just gotten harder as we've gotten busier. So I think it is interesting, the intentional effort that it takes, but that comes back like tenfold when you actually do that.
Yeah.
So.
And did you ever think that like out of high school or middle school, friendships would be hard? I always thought like, oh, I'm going to get older and friendships will be easy.
Easier.
I don't have to mess with this 6th grade friendship drama anymore.
Right, yeah. But now you don't live down the hall. I mean, I didn't live down the hall in 6th grade, but in college you live down the hall. And now, if somebody isn't in my day-to-day route that I go in my day, I have to really work hard to see them.
Yeah,
so
that's good. Speaking of relationships, what is the most recent thing that you've learned about specific relationships in your life, with friends maybe, or with any relationship?
Yeah, I really had a hard time with the idea of mentorship recently. I felt like everybody says mentorship is important. Every older woman says like, you need wise people to speak into your life. But then when I looked around, I was like, I feel like I'm on an island. Who am I supposed to look to for this? There's no like thing to fill out to get a mentor. And if there is, I feel like it never really works. It's like speed dating. I don't know, it's just weird. And so I kind of put myself out there, and a good friend of mine, she's older than I am, and I said, hey, you invited me to come down. She actually lives in Austin, and she'd invited me to come down, and like an open invitation. And so I picked an actual time and said, hey, thinking about coming down sometime in December. When would be good for you? And I just made it awkward, and I let myself be messy, and I let myself be needy. And that was the best place I could be, because then I could actually receive from a place where I wasn't trying to lead, I wasn't trying to teach, I wasn't trying to be a good example. I could just kind of be not knowing and just kind of take in, and that was just a good posture for me at that point in time.
I think you said something that a lot of people don't think about. They're like, I want to mentor, I want to be mentored, and you said you just called her.
Yeah.
and said, so I think sometimes we sit around and wait, like, I'm going to wait to see who I should mentor. I'm going to wait to see who should mentor me. But we should actually look at the people around you, and there are people there for you.
Yeah, and like I actually had physically asked her a couple of years ago, like, will you mentor me? Could we sit down on like monthly Skype calls and do that? And she was like, sure, I'll do that. And then my life got crazy. I have lots of kids. It's hard for me. I mean, she was totally willing, but my life didn't fit that plan, even though I was the one who made it up. Yeah, and so, but it just took me saying like, I actually am in need, and I need to look to your wisdom. And even since then, she's been like, how are you doing? And I'm like, fine, totally fine. And she's like, you want me to FaceTime you? And so I'm like, no, I'm fine. She's like, okay, I'll call in like 3 minutes. And it's just great. It's really nice to be pursued, but to be pursued, you have to allow yourself to be pursued. And it's an uncomfortable thing, I think, for a lot of women right now in the modern days, to be willing to be needy.
Yeah. Hayley, you're part of a network that encourages women to have influence right where they are. What is one thing that you want women to know about their God-given influence?
I just really want them to believe that they actually do. That they actually do have influence right where they are. That they wouldn't look to like the celebrity Christians, that they wouldn't look to the people that our weird celebrity culture wants to put on a pedestal. I would hope that they would know that sometimes, like, seeing your book for the first time feels as empty as unloading the dishwasher for the 400th time. And you don't know why that feels empty, but it kind of does still, because things that we look to fill us up in the world don't, because they're not the Lord. And I would just want them to know that anything that they're looking to have influence, if it's not the Lord, if it's not something that is God-given, that's in them because of who they are in Christ, that it's not going to fulfill them, and it doesn't actually make them influential. So just that they actually do have influence, so they don't even have to do anything to have that influence because of Christ in them.